Today, we're diving into excerpts from Life of Sri Ramakrishna, a complete biography.
And our focus, it's the formative experiences of Sarada Devi, the Holy Mother, specifically her early days at Dakshineswar.
Right. Our mission really is to understand her transition into this new life, the key events she encountered there.
And what all this tells us about her character, and of course, her very unique bond with Sri Ramakrishna.
Okay, let's get into it then. Where should we start?
Well, I think it's really remarkable to begin by looking at Sarada Devi after that initial period of spiritual guidance from Sri Ramakrishna back in Kamarpukur.
Ah, okay, before Dakshineswar.
Exactly. The biography talks about this lasting feeling she had, and unspeakable delight is the phrase used.
An unspeakable delight, like a deep inner joy.
A profound inner joy, yeah. She apparently described it herself as feeling like she had a pitcher full of bliss right there in her heart.
Wow, a pitcher full of bliss.
Mm-hmm. And even when she went back to her father's home, this inner state, well, it led to some really noticeable changes in her character.
Right, the biography highlights that transformation,
Yeah.
doesn't it? It mentions her becoming even more gentle.
Yes, and more thoughtful, genuinely unselfish.
And this, boundless capacity for love. What really strikes me is the description of her serenity.
Yeah, how even, discomfort or unkindness from others just couldn't seem to touch it.
And she threw herself into serving her relatives back in Jayrambati.
Ungrudgingly, too. But the text makes it clear her heart was still longing for Dakshineswar, for the master.
That really speaks to the power of that initial connection, even years later.
Absolutely. And it points to something vital in her early development. This deep conviction, but also, incredible patience.
Patience, how so?
Well, despite really wanting to be near Sri Ramakrishna, she just knew, she trusted, that he'd call her back when the time was right.
So not just waiting around, but an active readiness.
That's how it seems, yeah, a kind of inner certainty.
Okay, so then we get to the turning point.
Mm-hmm.
The things that actually pushed her to make the journey to Dakshineswar.
Right. 4 years have gone by now. She's, about 18?
18, yes. And during that time, these whispers, this village gossip started reaching her.
Mm-hmm. The talk about Sri Ramakrishna being, mad was the word used, wasn't it? Because of his intense devotion.
Yeah. Can you imagine how hearing that must have felt for her?
The biography uses strong language. Her heart was lacerated. But here's where her strength really shows. Instead of just, believing the rumors,
She decided to find out for herself.
exactly. She felt this deep need to see his true state, understand what was really going on, and crucially, to serve him if he needed her.
It feels like more than just, say, a wife's duty. It sounds like deep devotion driving her.
I think so too. It speaks volumes about her own spiritual insight, even at that age.
And then the chance came up. Some relatives were going to Calcutta.
Yeah, distant relatives planning a trip for the Dal Purnima festival.
And her father. He understood her real motive, didn't he?
It seems he did. He decided to go with her, which was no small thing.
No, definitely not. An 80-mile journey, and they had to walk.
All on foot. The railway wasn't an option for them, and a palanquin was too expensive.
Wow, 80 miles. That sheer determination. It really underscores how important this was to her.
It really does. That kind of dedication is, something to reflect on.
So the journey itself, it wasn't smooth sailing, was it?
No, not entirely. It started okay, apparently quite pleasant, but then Sarada Devi got seriously ill, a high fever.
Oh dear. So they had to stop.
Yeah, they had to take shelter at a roadside inn. And it's there, while she's sick, that something quite remarkable happens. A vision.
Okay, tell us about this vision. It sounds really significant.
She described seeing a young girl, dark complexioned, who came to her, and this girl gently touched her, and Sarada Devi felt the fever just lessen, subside.
Wow. Did she know who the girl was?
Well, she asked her where she came from, and the girl said, from Dakshineswar.
Dakshineswar, the very place she was desperately trying to reach.
Exactly. Imagine hearing that. And then the girl offered this incredible assurance. She said something like, don't worry, you'll get well. You'll go to Dakshineswar and meet him.
Meet Sri Ramakrishna?
Yes. And then she added this line, I have kept him there for your sake.
I have kept him there for your sake. That's powerful.
Incredibly powerful. And then Sarada Devi asked, who are you?
And the answer?
The girl just said, I am your sister.
Her sister. What do you make of that?
Well, connecting it to who Sarada Devi became, it's profound. It could be seen as, her own inner strength manifesting or divine reassurance, maybe even a hint of her own future spiritual stature.
And that detail I have kept him there for your sake is just, wow.
It really resonates. Anyway, the biography says she fell asleep after that.
And woke up cured.
Woke up the next morning completely free of fever, ready to continue. Though they did hire a palanquin for the rest of the way.
Understandable after that. So they finally reached Dakshineswar. Late at night, right?
Yeah, about 9 p.m. in March 1872. And Sri Ramakrishna, naturally, was very concerned seeing her looking so weak from the illness.
What did he do?
He immediately focused on her comfort. He even arranged a separate bed for her right there in his own room.
In his room, okay.
And he apparently regretted that Maithur wasn't there. Maithur used to handle their practical needs. It just shows his immediate sort of fatherly care for her well-being.
And she recovered quickly under his care.
Remarkably quickly, yes. Within just a few days, she felt much better.
And then she moved somewhere else.
Yes, she moved in to live with Sri Ramakrishna's mother, who was staying in the concert room, the Nahabat.
Okay, so living with his mother. That sounds like a more typical arrangement.
It does, and importantly, during this initial time, Sarada Devi was watching Sri Ramakrishna closely.
Observing his attitude towards her.
Exactly, and she saw that he was just the same towards her as he had been back in Kamarpukur. That consistency, that reassurance was key.
So that cemented her decision to stay.
It seems so. She decided to stay and dedicate herself to serving both him and his mother.
And her father saw she was okay.
Yes, her father saw she seemed happy and at peace, so he went back home to Jairambati feeling joyful himself.
So now she's settled at Dakshineswar. And Sri Ramakrishna takes up his role as her teacher again.
He does, but the biography points out it was complex. It wasn't just teaching her, it was also, in a way, him testing his own spiritual realizations.
Testing them in the context of this relationship.
Precisely. While also fulfilling his duties as a husband, though, obviously in a very unconventional spiritual way.
And their guiding principle was always
a complete dependence on the divine will. That seems central to everything they did.
And the teaching itself, it was broad, wasn't it?
Incredibly broad. He picked up where he left off in Kamarpukur, basically. It covered everything from, practical household things.
Like how to trim a lamp wick, right?
Yeah, exactly. Mundane details like that. All the way up to the highest knowledge, the knowledge of Brahman.
So a complete education, spiritual and practical.
Absolutely. And he wasn't just lecturing. He made sure she understood, filed the instructions, and he'd lovingly correct any mistakes.
Is there a specific lesson mentioned that stands out?
There's a beautiful one quoted. God is everybody's beloved, just as the moon is dear to every child. Everyone has an equal right to pray to him.
You too will see him if you but call upon him.
That's the one. It really emphasizes the universality of God and her own direct access, her own potential.
Okay, then we arrive at this really unique, perhaps mysterious event, the Shirasi Puja.
Yes, the biography calls it a curious desire that arose in Sri Ramakrishna's mind.
The desire to worship Kali in a special way.
On the new moon night of May 1872, he made all the arrangements right there in his own room, and he specifically asked the Holy Mother to be present.
And the really unusual part was
the role reversal. Sri Ramakrishna, he took the priest's seat, and then he beckoned Sarada Devi, the Holy Mother, to sit on the seat that was meant for the goddess herself.
How did she react?
The text says she was in a sort of semi-conscious state, almost like she was guided. She just obediently took the seat.
And then he performed the worship to her.
He did, yes, with an assistant helping. They performed the full ritual worship, treating Sarada Devi as the living embodiment of the Divine Mother.
That's extraordinary. And something happened to her during the ritual.
She entered samadhi, that deep state of spiritual absorption.
And him?
He also went into samadhi after finishing the mantras. The biography calls it a transcendental union between them.
What exactly is samadhi for listeners who might not know?
Good point. It's generally understood as a very deep state of meditation where the individual consciousness kind of merges with the ultimate reality or the object of meditation, a super conscious state.
Got it. So they were both in this profound state.
Yes. And the climax came later, in the dead of night. Sri Ramakrishna started to return to, let's say, partial consciousness.
And what did he do then?
This is the most significant part. He took everything himself, all the results of his years and years of intense spiritual practices, his sadhana, even his own prayer beads, his rosary.
And offered it all to her.
Offered it all at her feet. And then he bowed down low, saluting her.
Wow. So what's the deeper meaning here? The insight?
It's huge. It's Sri Ramakrishna fundamentally recognizing the Divine Mother, the ultimate feminine principle, in Sarada Devi. right there in a human form.
So the Shirasi Puja wasn't just a ritual. It was the culmination of his entire spiritual journey.
That's how the biography presents it, yes.
Yeah.
The consummation of his sadhana, he was dedicating everything he'd achieved to the mother of the universe, through Sarada Devi as her living symbol.
And this changed how he saw everything.
It seems it did. It led him to this illumined vision, seeing the divine in everyone and everything. There's that powerful quote that captures it.
Yes. Thou art the woman and thou art the man.
Thou art the boy and thou art the girl, and thou art the old man tottering on his crutches.
Thou pervadest the universe, born in multiple forms. Beautiful.
It truly is. In this event, the Shirasi Puja, it really cemented Sarada Devi's place, not just in their relationship, but in the whole spiritual tradition that followed.
Okay, so after this incredibly profound event, she continued living at Dakshineswar. What were those days like?
Her own reminiscences, quoted in the biography, paint a picture of just constant spiritual intensity. She talked about her own wonderful exaltation of spirit.
From witnessing Sri Ramakrishna.
Yes, watching his different states, his intense emotions, divine fervor, sometimes laughter, sometimes weeping, and these deep, prolonged samadhis.
It must have been overwhelming at times.
She actually mentions feeling fear initially because the divine presence around him felt so tangible, so extraordinary.
Is there an example of that?
Yeah, there's an incident described where he went into samadhi and it lasted so long she got really frightened and called for Friday, his nephew, to help.
So it wasn't always serene.
Definitely not always calm on the surface. But it's also quite touching. Sri Ramakrishna himself taught her how to help him come back to normal consciousness.
How?
By using specific names of God or certain mantras, chanting them gently near him.
So he equipped her to navigate these intense states with him.
Exactly. And, despite all this intensity, he was still thinking about her practical needs. He worried about her losing sleep if she stayed in his room during these long samadhis.
Right, because she might need to tend to him.
So he asked her to sleep separately in the concert room to make sure she got enough rest.
It's that blend, again, the highest spiritual guidance alongside very human concern.
Perfectly put. As she herself said, the master taught her everything, from tiny domestic details right up to the highest truths.
A life, as the biography says, very far removed from ordinary married life.
Absolutely. Worlds apart.
There's another really key interaction mentioned, isn't there? Where she asks him directly what he thinks of her.
Oh yes, a very direct question. And his answer was immediate and, absolutely unequivocal.
What did he say?
He said essentially, the mother who is worshipped in the temple, the mother who gave birth to me and lives in the concert room, and the mother who is massaging my feet right now, they are all the same.
Wow.
And then he added, verily, I always look upon you as the visible representation of the blissful mother.
No ambiguity there at all. He saw her as divine.
Completely. And there's another incident described where he was looking at her while she was asleep.
And questioning his own mind.
Yes, sort of testing himself, perhaps. And the result was that his mind immediately plunged into deep samadhi for the rest of the night.
As if confirming the purity of his perception.
That seems to be the implication. The biography emphasizes that their minds just didn't operate on that ordinary physical plane. They were always attuned to the infinite.
He even mentioned something about his prayers being answered regarding her, didn't he?
I did. He complimented her, saying his prayer to the Divine Mother to root out any trace of physical desire from her mind had been granted.
Which again speaks volumes about the nature of their connection.
And his own realization deepened over time. After about a year or more, he recognized he felt absolutely zero body consciousness towards her.
He saw her purely as
the Divine Mother, or as the Atman, the pure self, or Brahman, the ultimate reality, beyond form, beyond gender, really.
And he saw this as the Divine Mother's grace.
Yes, he felt that the Divine Mother, acting through Sarada Devi, had brought his spiritual practices, his sadhanas, to their ultimate fulfillment.
An incredible journey for both of them.
Truly.
And eventually, she returned to Kamarpukur.
Yes, the biography places her return around November 1873. So she spent about a year and 8 months at Dakshineswar during this incredibly transformative period.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive then.
Yeah.
We've really traced quite an arc.
Definitely. From her initial profound inner joy and the transformation back in Kamarpukur.
Through that incredibly determined, difficult journey to Dakshineswar, driven by her devotion despite all the gossip.
Took her life there, filled with these intense spiritual experiences, Sri Ramakrishna's unique teachings.
And that pivotal, deeply symbolic Shirasi Puja.
culminating in the recognition of the extraordinary, purely spiritual nature of their relationship, seeing her as the Divine Mother incarnate.
Yeah, these excerpts really do give us a unique, quite intimate look into the early life and the spiritual unfolding of the Holy Mother.
And that profound sacred connection she shared with Sri Ramakrishna.
It really does.
Which leads us, I suppose, to a final thought for you, the listener, to maybe ponder.
Go ahead.
How might understanding this really unique spiritual partnership, one that, went so far beyond conventional norms, embracing the divine in both masculine and feminine forms so completely, how might that deepen our own understanding?
Our understanding of devotion, perhaps, or selfless service.
Yeah, or even the potential for really profound spiritual transformation within our own relationships, whatever form they take.
It definitely invites reflection on the different ways people find the divine, doesn't it?
And the incredible power that true spiritual companionship can have. Lots to think about there.
I hope you like this chapter. We need volunteers and sponsors to create content with even better quality and with more variety. If you wish to join this initiative as a volunteer or sponsor, please click the links given in description below. To help us reach more viewers, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Biography Central. Thank you for your time. It means a lot. Namaste.